there's probably variations on the story, but as best I could get, this race of red-headed giants were bad. They tormented the Paiute people who weren't giants, and they had long red hair. At some point, they kept telling them, "Leave us alone, stop doing all this stuff." And they either lived in the Lovelock Cave or they got them in there, and the Paiutes built a big fire apparently in the front of the cave. Mm-hmm. And if you guys come out, we're going to shoot you. So some of them would come out and they'd shoot them with arrows and kill them. The rest of them suffocated, about 65 or so of them, apparently, according to the Smithsonian. And since they're in a cave, the bats lived in there, and the bat guano apparently mummified these guys. So they're not just skeletons. In some cases, they're mummies. The scientists didn't deny that there were these big people in there, these mummies. They just said, well, the red hair is because the bat guano. Well, okay, prove it. What about the red-haired people over in other parts of the United States? The long red hair robes made out of human hair. There's a couple of instances of those. What about those? Maybe they're all red-headed people.
Well,
that wouldn't...
Go ahead. I was just going to say there's one that I've read about recently that was unearthed in China, a red-headed mummy in China, and when they uncovered the face, they found blue eyes.
Right. Now, I didn't know about the blue eyes, but I know that about 10 or 15 years ago, there was a museum place in China somewhere where they had all these people. They were not, I don't know how tall they were, but they were white people with red hair, blonde hair, long hair, and they were obviously Caucasians and not Chinese. And for some reason, they knew they predated the Chinese as we think of them. Well, they didn't know what to do with these things, so they put them in a special place, and I don't know if they're even visible now. But their clothes were still in good condition. They were bright colored. They domesticated goats and horses, apparently. And I don't know, there must be a lot more about it. But, who were they? They predate the Chinese. The Chinese go back a long way. So after the flood, people have to keep in mind, you got to figure in Noah's flood 4,500 years ago, what led up to it, what the flood did, and then the abatement of the waters, what all that did. The atmosphere, the environment afterwards is not like it is now. There were this whole thing of the giants occurred again after the flood. The giants were the reason the flood occurred in the first place, was to get rid of them. Uh-huh. Well, then there was an outbreak of these giant people again. Apparently the same thing happened, however you want to figure it, but apparently more of these fallen angels came down and married human women and started this whole racial thing, this whole giant race again. And then when the Israelites come into Canaan and other parts over there, they're having to deal with these people. Well, in the meantime, hundreds of years have gone by, okay? Kon-Tiki, back in 1950s, proved that ordinary men with common tools can build a boat big enough for several people to get on and travel a long distance, just a reed boat, all right?
Now that's Thor Heyerdahl, right, with the Kon-Tiki boat? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you sent out 1,000 of those and 20,000 people, after a while, several islands would have at least a few couples living there, and pretty soon you have a whole tribe of folks. And maybe they don't keep written records because they don't need to. They all live 300 or 400 years long. So there isn't anything they don't know that Grandpa told them. You don't have to write it down, right? Mm-hmm. We have to write stuff down today because we live such a short span, and then we lose our minds. Well, the further you go back in time, you don't have the distractions of modern media that we do. And you sit around and talk, and you've heard Grandpa's story 500 times. You know it verbatim. So you don't need a book. But they did write books. So a lot of these giant people apparently just went out and went everywhere. And either they died off because of some weird things they were doing, or the American Indians, as we know them, or other people came in and were maybe superior in their numbers. Apparently, the South American Indians and North American Indians, in several cases, ran the giants off or killed the existing tribes. And, everything has gotten smaller. this is, half my book is on animals. Well, I think I've proven that animals aren't getting bigger and better and more complex. They're getting smaller and less complex. And a lot of it has to do with global cooling. I know it's on the web now, but they're saying, oh, by the way, global warming ended 16 years ago. Well, wait a minute, I thought it was like a big deal right now today here in 2012. No, it actually ended 16 years ago. Well, thanks for telling us. So that if you look at the geological record and the historical archaeological record, you'll see that the Earth is getting colder and colder and colder, and the tropical belt is shrinking. So you put reverse all of that to where the world is verdant and there's a lot of moisture, big animals to eat and all that. These big people were able to go all over the world apparently, and again, they like the mammoth, the big bison, the big horses and all that have died out because the Earth can't support them in the numbers they lived in at least.
Well, and some of the traditions that I've read, especially about like the Phoenicians and the Celts, they were pretty aggressive. There's accounts that I remember down in Central and South America that the Indian tribes told the friars when they first started exploring the Americas that there was this race of giants, and that they used to run and pick whole buffaloes up like we would run along and pick up a cat or a rabbit in the yard and run with it, and that when they were short on other kinds of food, they'd just run over and get a couple of people and drag them off to their cave and eat them too. So I could see a lot of reasons why the locals would not like these people around for very long. Yeah,
and there's another thing about giants in my research. Almost without exception, although there are a few apparent exceptions, almost without exception, the people that were like 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 feet tall or whatever they were invariably violent, satanic, cannibalistic, homosexuals. I don't know about the drugs thing, but, you could extrapolate that. And they were vicious to deal with. So, the other people, the North American Indians and South Americans, as we know them, hey, you can't do that. You can't come get our kids and eat them, or we're going to try to kill you. So, I don't know why. Well, I think I do know why the giants were all evil. I think they probably, the big ones generated from these fallen angels, which were wicked at their genesis. And then their offsprings just became more wicked. And, well, you get a really bad bunch of people like that, the other guys out here are going to get rid of them. And I think that probably happened many times over. So the giant races of these people just basically were killed off.
Yeah, and that's a story that it's not just in the North American continent. I've seen it repeated in some of the Frank Joseph books about the fellow who is the editor for Ancient American Magazine. He's got some books out about Lemuria and Atlantis and the Adena and the Hopewell and the other Indians that were early to this country. And that's
right.
That's a story that's been repeated around the world, not just here in North America.
Well, speaking of that, David was credited with killing the last of the giants, at least in that part of the world. Well, that was the Israelites, one of their main things was killing off these giant men who were extremely wicked. And that, we have a specific information about that, but like you say, these stories are all over the world like that. So there's a pattern there.
And they're cross-cultural. I mean, it's mentioned in the saga of Gilgamesh. It's mentioned in some ancient Hindu I can't remember the name of the stories, and UFOs are mentioned in there too. So it's not just the Bible. There's other sources that are, some of them are connected with religious philosophy in other cultures, and some of them aren't. Some of them are just historical oral tradition. What would you, I know that you use the definition that 8 feet and above, 8 constitutes a giant. So what is about the tallest one that you have seen remains of? Can you remember?
The ones that I would consider legitimate, I mean, really without question, I think go up to 15 feet tall.
Wow.
I was contacted by somebody who spoke French or wrote French, and as best I could make it out, I don't know much French, but I could I could tell what he was telling me was there were 3 15-foot tall mummies in a lab, and I never could figure out what he wanted to do. You know, do you want to sell them? Where are they? You know, but I lost contact with the guy. But and again, maybe someone found out. Maybe they were bought up and destroyed or put somewhere nobody sees them. But one of these days, one of us guys out there looking for this stuff are going to find one, and we'll have it. The first thing I'll do is get DNA. Anything else you can do in a lab, we'll do it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. You call me after you get the results back, because I personally want to know what they are.
I will.
Can you talk about, I mean, in reading your book, I can't even tell you how many, surely there's over 300 references to individual groups of skeletal remains just for humans in your book. Surely there's at least that much. And some of them go up to 35 feet, which I kind of found hard to swallow. Which ones are you skeptical of?
Well, some of those, and as I pointed out in the book, some of them were mastodons, and it's not crazy to misidentify a mastodon skeleton, because if you don't have the tusk, and sometimes they're without tusk, you put a mastodon skull up, you look at the teeth, they're human-like. They have, ridges and valleys, kind of like ours. Those 2 sockets where the tusks go, if you look at the skull, it looks like his nostrils. And then the 2 nostrils up here for the elephant, or which are between his eyes, look like a cyclops or 2 eyes that are close to each other. So, and their body shape is almost identical to a human, although it's just more robust. So, honest mistakes have been made, but you can usually tell. Some of the ancient reports, like if they said you could put 30 gallons of corn or wheat into the cranium of this giant they found in a casket or something, I can guarantee you the largest mastodon skull in the world. I worked on one of the largest of them, the Lone Star mastodon from Texas. This thing's huge. He's bigger than anything found in the United States so far. His brain isn't as big as a human's. Or it's about that size, okay? It's not 30 gallons of wheat. But you take a man with the size of, if a human skull with the size of a mammal skull, yeah, you could probably put 30 gallons of wheat in there. So if they did that, and why would they say they did if they didn't, then yeah, you probably have a giant man, and that skull almost has to fit a man 25 or 30 feet tall. The other thing that a person, I think, has to consider is the Book of Enoch. And I know it's not considered canon for most Christians. Most people don't know anything about it. But, the ancient Jews considered it legitimate. It's referred to in the New Testament as a legitimate book, at least a couple of quotes. And if you read the Book of Enoch, it's hard to know. I think the word ells is the term. So you don't know if that's a foot or an inch or what. But at maximum, some of these giants before the flood were 1,200 feet tall.
Oh my God!
I said, I just can't believe that. Let me boil that down. Let's make that half of that. Well, that's 600 feet. Well, no, a fourth. Well, he's 300 feet tall. No. Well, let's get him down to 100. Well, then your L is like an inch or something. Still, 100-foot tall man, a 50-foot tall man. If Enoch is, if he's even anywhere close, our understanding is anywhere close, you're talking about a man that just exceeds anything we can possibly imagine. But then Enoch goes on to say that these guys were the problem, and they were fathered by these wicked fallen angels, and they were eating everything. They were probably eating people. They were harming birds, all the wildlife. I mean, a man 25, 30 feet tall, for crying out loud, much less 300, has to eat a lot, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
A human might make a nice little hamburger. So Enoch even, like I say, even if you boil it down to bring it way, way down, still you're talking about a man that goes way beyond anything that mom and pop can create. This is something else. And there's a spiritual connection because if the fallen angels story is true, like the Bible and Enoch says, then everybody knows an angel is a spirit. Well, God is a spirit. Demons are spirits. So the academic guys, when they look at this stuff, they can't go there because they know good and well that a 25-foot tall man isn't just a superior human that just had good genes. They know there's something more there. It just can't be a normal person. So when the pilot and the Pawnee talked about men that were 15 feet tall and could, like you say, run down a grown animal and kill it, they have to ignore that and say, it's just those old dumb Indians, they don't know anything. Well, they weren't dumb Indians. They did know something. They were telling the truth. But again, it's like, well, okay, we can't explain a 15-foot tall man by anything we know about biology. So it must be spiritual. We can't have it because we don't want this God thing in there. And so there you go. It all has to be suppressed.
Yeah. I tell you what, Joe, we're going to have to take a quick break here for about 10 minutes or so. You're listening to InceptionRadioNetwork.com. This is the Epic Voyages show, and this is Joe Taylor talking to us about the information in his book, Giants Against Evolution. We're going to take about 10 minutes right now and come back, so stick around and we'll open up the phone line. Thanks. Welcome back to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and the Epic Voyages show. We're talking to Joe Taylor from West Texas, whose newest book, Giants Against Evolution, is just chock full of references about human and animal remains. We've been having a very interesting discussion about giants. And, Joe, I wanted to ask you, you have, if those of you, I should give the phone number. We've opened up the phone line for questions, and the number is 888-919-2355. There's also a chat room at InceptionRadioNetwork.com if you want to join us there and ask questions. If you do go to Joe's website, www.mountblanco.com, you will see a picture that, Joe, I got to tell you that since I got your book, I have seen this picture of you in all kinds of places all over the internet. It's a photograph of Joe standing next to what looks like a poster that looks to be, I'm going to guess, maybe 10 feet tall. And on the poster is a line drawing of what looks to be a skeleton from about mid-pelvis down to the ground. And in this, he has put one of his sculpted human bones. It's a femur. And the point of the picture is to show you if that bone was real and it belonged to a human, and I believe that bone came from Saudi Arabia, did it?
Well, Homs, Zora, and Egypt is where this particular construction guy said he found them.
Okay,
in those three places.
They were digging up, getting ready to do a road, and this guy has a bone. Joe got a hold of something and sculpted a replica of the bone, and he put it in perspective on a drawing of how tall the person who had that bone would be. So, Joe, how tall would this guy have been?
Well, he would be at least 14 feet tall, the same size as King Og, the famous giant, or he could be up to 16 feet, depending on, if he's slender.
Wow.
So it's a big, big person. Way too big for anybody to say he's just a big guy. And it also is a problem for the evolutionists because you can't have these big, big people back there, way back there. We're supposed to have gone from little apes up to black people, and now the smart white people that are 6 feet tall. Anytime you throw a big giant in there of any color that's like 3 or 4 times taller than everybody, that's a problem.
When we were talking about DNA analysis, this bone that you sculpted, did you actually get your hands on the bone to sculpt this replica?
No, we tracked down the little lady whose husband had the original letter, who would have known his name, and she said, "Oh, my husband just passed away, and I don't know where all his stuff is." And well, there you go. I think what happens to most of that stuff over there, I believe they're digging these guys up all the time and have for a long time. A lot of the bones just turn to dust. And if you don't have some hardener there, if you don't know how to deal with dusty bones, and I have before, I mean, some bones you could be brushing the dirt away, and you're brushing the bone because it's literally turned to dust. But if you've got the right kind of hardener, you can save it. Well, I could save anything. I could save those things. So they dig them up. They get a big spear point. Maybe they get the jaw or the teeth. In this one case, there were several. There were a lot of these giant skeletons came up. Well, the bulldozer has hit them, right? So they're already busted up. But one femur was intact enough they could measure it. And they're doing a road crew. They got guys with gravel and all sorts of stuff coming in. So they can't just all of a sudden do a little archaeological dig. They grab whatever they can, or if it's worth calling the state comes in and they take it, and who knows where it goes. Or if it's actually something good, they have some good bones, it's not hard to black market that stuff, and there are plenty of people interested in it that have money. So unless you're right there, you're not going to get anything. And now with all the turmoil in the Middle East, there's some serious stuff going over there, and they're not going to. It's going to be hard to go over there and go, "Hey, look, could I dig up some bones?"
Yeah, I have thought a lot with even that area that was known as the Levant, I think, around the Lebanon and all of that, going up around the sea there.
Yep.
There's got to be all kinds of things underground there if you could just get to it and dig, but that's the hardest place in the world to get to dig, I would think.
Yeah, because, if you don't know someone and if you don't have military escorts, you're just taking a chance. And if you just go over there and you wander around picking up stuff, I mean, a lot of people are perceived as being spies. Well, now you're in jail, and that's just not the way to go about it. You have to go through the right connections, and that takes time. It takes time. I know a few people in the Middle East who have connections, but it's not like they've got a lot of time on their hand. But eventually, we're going to put together a project and get our hands on some of these guys, and of course, it takes money. You can't go to Israel or anywhere else for less than $10,000. You can't do anything in a week. You got to stay a couple of weeks. Well, that's pretty good money there. And we just need someone who says, "Boy, I'm interested. I can't go, but I got the money. Tell me what happened. We'll outfit you." You got to have the money and the expertise, and we've got the expertise. And as soon as we find the guys that's got the coins, I think we're going to do something.
Well, that would be really exciting. I know I saw that there was some sort of an excavation in India in 2006, and in Saudi Arabia in 2004. Are those about the most recent finds that you can think of that involved possible human remains?
Yeah, and I think there's some even in the last couple of years. I've got a guy who said he knew somebody was over there taking pictures. He took pictures. And I said, well, let's put me in contact. That hasn't happened yet, but I think that's probably the strongest thing that we've got going right now is if this is true, if this guy's got he's got photographs, if they didn't dig them all up, I mean, maybe they dug everything that was there up. Where did he go? This guy may not even know. May have been a tourist or something, a government worker.
Well, and the other thought that would occur to me is you could probably create an entire career of proving hoaxes with people who are really good with Photoshop, trying to blend different pictures from here and there. We've got a really good question here in the chat room. Unless a person has the stature of a giraffe or a similar creature, wouldn't the atmospheric condition determine the evolution of a viable human structure in this world. Now, I don't know if they're saying wouldn't the environment have some kind of impact on how tall it could get, or I'm not sure what they mean by that. But
well, that's a good point. That is a real good point, because if you go back in time, the environments are almost always better than now for maximum growth of animals, maximum lifespan, and so on. You can see this in buffalo bones and mastodon bones in Texas. You can look at these old individuals and see this individual lived a long life, and at the end of their life, when they only had one fragment of a chewing tooth, and they're a big animal and they still were able to eat, it must have been really verdant right here, and it's not now. So would that create extra growth? To a degree, because, Americans are getting taller, our feet are getting bigger, because we have a better or a different diet than we did 200 years ago, let's say, more vitamins or something is causing people to be taller. But, we're not but a few inches taller. We're not like, 5 feet. So, whereas, let's, again, a man who could attain 7 feet today, which is, we got a lot of 7 foot tall guys, and they're okay, they're athletic, but put him in a more optimum environment, maybe 1,500 years ago, he might make it to 8 or 9, and be just a normal human being, not be derived from some fallen angel theory or anything like that. So the person's point is well taken, and that's why I say, I didn't include a lot of guys in my book that were just 7 or 7.5 feet tall. There were a lot of them, like whole races, whole armies of these people. And that in itself is fascinating. But you get a man that's like 9, 10 feet tall, a whole army of them. Now you've got something that goes beyond just good environment, good genes, and all that sort of thing. Plus, why would he have 6 toes, 6 fingers, and 2 rows of teeth? Not uncommon, that does happen today. We're not sure why, or at least I'm not sure why. But, the giants there, Goliath and those people that, during David's time, they had 6 toes, 6 fingers, and 2 rows of teeth, at least historically. And they weren't like anybody else. These were different guys. So, right. But the point's well taken. It also brings up another point that I've had many times. People say, well, a person that couldn't be a human because people's bodies would just fall apart if they were 12 feet tall. Well, that's not true, because as a person grows, you grow, all your body grows together. It's not like you're, throwing the same little bone structure and throwing 800 pounds of flesh on it. You grow with your body size. And if you look at elephants, an elephant, they're huge. Their bodies are huge, and they can stand on their front legs on a stool. It doesn't break them. They don't die. Almost all animals stand on their hind legs, either to fight, feed, or breed. So they can do it. It doesn't kill them. Well, people are built to stand on their feet. So the argument that, no, these couldn't be humans because you just fall apart after 12 feet, it's just not, I don't think that's just not good biology.
Well, and I think you make the point in the book that there's a lot of examples and even photographs from the 1800s of really true, quote, giants, unquote. And I say in quotes because if it seems to be a genetic mutation, like a pituitary issue,